Lone Pine, California, April 30th, 1975. Recently it has come to my attention that there are those who seem to think that I developed the conception of the high indifference as a speculative construct, as a recommended attitude to cultivate. This is far from the truth of the matter. On the contrary, it is a report of an imperienced that was wholly unexpected, that I found as a result of something like a superposition of my consciousness upon another higher consciousness, or vice versa. I found that this is the nature of the organization of the all, insofar as we are able to know it. It was a surprise, but also it came as like a self-evident truth, something extremely obvious. What I contributed was a report of this. A report that this is the nature of the all in its essential organization. That balance is the great law. Equilibrium is the great law. Karma is simply the law of equilibrium in action. All action whatsoever invokes a tension which is balanced by a counter-tension, so that the equilibrium is never broken. The high indifference is a consciousness focused at this 0 point of balance. But it implies something more. In many of the reports of deep imperiencers, the ultimate characteristic given is that of ananda, or delight. What the imperience of the high indifference says is that while this is a stage on the way, beyond the predominance of delight and bliss is the neutral consciousness that stands between bliss and suffering and all other polarities. It is the equal sign in all mathematical equations. It is the copula in all logical propositions. Now, that entity which stands at the point of balance has the capability of moving either way, can enter into delight or into the suffering of creatures with equal felicity. There is no barrier of preference in this movement. Clearly, this is not a simply human kind of consciousness, but a consciousness of a higher order. For to be human is certainly to have preferences. It is thus not a construct of the speculative imagination, but a report of a discovered element in the structure of ultimate reality. Now this development took place on the 8th of September, occupying a period of several hours after retiring as I lay awake. The first stage was, in a sense, a recapitulation of the values of the previous fundamental realization. It involved enormous, thoroughgoing satisfaction. It was the epitome of all the supernal values. And then it transformed itself into this state which I called indifference, with an evidence of a perfect logic behind it. Now, the indifference expresses a condition which might be called that of aloofness, of complete balance, or equilibrium, where one is not oriented either to the positive pole of the lofty values that had been presented in the original fundamental realization of August 7th, nor to the negative values of the opposite side. In dealing with the pairs of opposites, it is a mistake to assume that they are always in terms of a light contrasting with a shadow or a darkness. The good and evil, for instance, is only one example of the pairs of opposites, the one that gives us the greatest amount of trouble. But the vast majority of these pairs are of a neutral nature and not ethical in their implication, such as up and down, north and south, east and west, right and left, cold and hot, and so on. But among these there is one supreme master instance of the pairs of opposites, And in the development of the imperienced during the night of September 8th, a culminating point was one in which the supreme pair of opposites was presented. This was the contrast represented by the subject to consciousness and the object of consciousness. At that supreme point in the imperienced, I saw with the eye of the mind the disappearance of the object and the subject into the consciousness itself. And this is the basis of the philosophy of consciousness without an object and without a subject. It is the foundation stone, a transcendental base from which all problems that concern humankind or any others is approached. Beyond this, in the very final stage, I descended into darkness, a darkness of non-cognition. How far I descended, there was no way to measure. Only there were stages of darkness which became deeper and deeper. And then I ascended out of this. And the message that came from this was that the highest conception that could be integrated into our consciousness was not the final truth. That all that could be integrated was so much as this relative consciousness, this relative human consciousness, could, at its present stage of evolution, assimilate it. And beyond this lay the unexhausted and presumptively inexhaustible beyond. That other, which we do not yet know, but in time, as we evolve in our relative faculties, may presumptively be able to know. And this is made clear to me, the fact that no stage of evolution of insight so far possible is the final possibility in the unfolding of ultimate potential.